Welcome to another episode of Finding Your Music Mojo. I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report. That's Dawn from Two Hip Chicks,
Hey guys.
otherwise known as our electronics expert and my vinyl supplier 90% of the time. I was just
That's right.
undoing another box of 45s right before we got on the air.
Yes. Very good. And you got more coming, I understand. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
good too.
Oh yeah. I just paid for another lot this afternoon. Yeah, this is a bad one because you threw in that song again, but I didn't get a chance to write to you and say throw something else in instead of that song.
Yeah,
now I have two copies I can shoot.
I know, right? No one can miss get the shotgun with the wide spread, and you can hit them both at the same time. There you go.
So we covered some basics in the last couple of shows, and we thought maybe we should get into a little bit more of the technical stuff for beginners. And that is involving cartridges, and that is, of course, what plays the record. It connects to the stylus, and it's in between the stylus and the, all the electronic stuff that makes it go up through these wires and come out the speakers and sound really great.
Exactly. Exactly. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. That's pretty much how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know there are two different types of cartridges. There's magnetic and ceramic.
Yep.
And I know that magnetic is technically, according to most people, slightly better than ceramic because it has better connections and will have a better sound to it slightly.
Yeah, the thought is that there's a magnetic versus ceramic, like you said. The thought is because magnetic is a little more subtle, and it'll pick up the movements more subtle, the more subtleties of the movements of the needle, which is in the groove, which is making the sound. That it's better, and either way, if you have a good system set up where your system is tuned to the type of cartridge you have, you might not even notice it. A lot of people don't notice a difference. Some do, some don't.
Some people swear by one or the other, and others say it doesn't matter. In all honesty, in all my years of collecting, I've never really paid attention to the cartridge unless I've needed to replace it, and then I take it to somebody and say, "Can you fix this?" Because I don't know how to do it.
I need another one of these. Is basically what you're saying.
Exactly.
Can you give me one of these? Because I need one. This one's worn out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically the cartridge, which is this thing here, right, is what goes into most turntables or something similar. I'm not going to get 100% of accuracy here, but this is the cartridge, and it mounts to the tone arm, right? The cartridge itself is the part with the needle or the stylus, and that is the part that is where this yellow one is, and that mounts onto that. So when we're talking about a needle, we're probably talking about most of this, but the needle is actually the part that fits onto the cartridge or stylus and then on and out. So that's what you're talking about. Now, what's inside of this little devil is the difference between ceramic and magnetic, and that's what we're talking about tonight, which is ceramic versus magnetic. And there is two different types of magnetic cartridges as well, which one is a moving coil and the other one is just considered a magnetic cartridge. But moving coil cartridges are kind of expensive. So we're not going to talk about those, because if you're getting into it just right away, unless somebody gifts you one, you're probably not going to get one in a lower end turntable or a new turntable.
For a lower end cartridge that's decent, you're probably looking at what, and when it comes to the fees
for the price,
how much it costs. Yeah.
Ooh, higher end cartridges, moving magnetic cartridges, or probably, man, you could go thousands. I mean, you really can. Just lower end of that, $400 or $500 maybe.
Mm-hmm. And of course, it's already going to come when you buy a turntable of any type. It's going to come with one that's been made usually especially for that machine. So unless you're really looking for super audiophile sound, chances are good you won't need to change it. Probably the first several years, it'll work without a problem.
Yeah, I mean, each needle. I mean, if you have a diamond needle versus a sapphire needle, those two are different. They're different hardnesses, so they wear. One wears faster than the others. The diamond stylus is the best one to have.
Diamond is always better.
Diamond needle. Yeah. Yep. And then of course there's what the diamond is mounted to, as far as what the shaft right here is also part of the sound quality. It's kind of, there's a lot of different pieces and parts that go into this, but basically you're going to have probably get a sapphire or diamond needle, which goes into a cartridge, and the cartridge type depends on what your turntable is set up for.
You can
There
replace just the needle too if you need to.
Yeah. So, yep, you've got the cartridge is mounted. This is mounted to your tone arm, and basically it's just the matter of getting it off, and then putting the other one on, the new one on. See, just like that.
It's really no more complicated for that kind of stuff than maybe replacing a printer cartridge. Really, it's just, follow the directions. It's pretty simple to do.
Yep, it is. And you just got to be careful, because the wires that are connected to this, and depending again on your tone arm, whether you have the kind that just slip the cartridge in, or if you have to individually hook the little wires up.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah.
The little wires are very, very delicate.
Yeah. Most of the medium and lower end starter turntables have the connectors that slip right in. It's once you start getting up into the pricey stuff where you find the individual leads for each one, and you've got to know which one is which. Don't plug it into the wrong one, or you're going to get horrible sound, or worse yet, you're going to like short out something, and you don't want that to happen either. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So I took the needle off just so I'm not playing with the needles as well.
Yeah.
So I'm basically on a stereo cartridge. You've got left and right, and then you've got the two inputs for power, and it grounds out on its on one of those. So there's power coming into this, and then there's signal going out of it. Basically, it's picking up the signal and pushing it back through the turntable, through the amplifier. If you have amplified speakers or however you hook it up, that's where that signal goes. And the power of the signal is dictated by the cartridge, and that's where magnetic and ceramic are different. And that's why on some turntables you may need a preamp. Versus just hooking it up to your powered speakers. So if you get a turntable from your Uncle Bob or something, and you go to hook it up to your powered speakers or an amplifier that doesn't have a phono preamp in it, and it sounds like crap,
that's why.
Then you know that you probably it's probably a magnetic cartridge. If you hook it up to a phono preamp on an amp and it sounds really like crap, really loud and harsh and crashy, then you probably have one that already has it's a ceramic cartridge. It needs line level. It doesn't need that weaker, lower phono amp to be boosted. And so that's where the differences fall. And that's where people can buy a turntable, plug it in, and it sounds like absolute crap, and they don't know why. And so that's why.
I know a lot of the newer turntables come with a preamp, but some of them don't. It depends on which brand you're getting, and they will have a switch on the back of it that tells you if you're going to put it into a preamp, you can use it that way. You got to switch it this way, or use the one in the turntable, then you switch it the other way. And I mean, it makes it super easy. Just look at your instructions, follow the directions. And it will go into it'll bring out the great, the best sound you can get, as long as you're putting it together the way it's supposed to be.
Yes, truly.
There's horror stories out there, but hopefully this will be one that won't be terribly a horror story.
It shouldn't be. I mean, there's a couple ways real quick to figure it out. Number one, hook it up to whatever you have. And if it sounds super loud and crashy, it probably already has a preamp in it, and you've hooked it up to a receiver or something that had a phono hookup. If you're hooking up a ceramic cartridge to a phono plug on the back of your receiver or your amplifier, you're gonna it's not made for that. It's made for the magnetic cartridge. So then you've got a ceramic cartridge, or the preamp is on. So check the back, like you said, flick it over, or run it through the auxiliary port, or like tape. If you got a tape plug on there, or an auxiliary or something, that's the signal it's sending out. So if it's not switchable on the turntable and you're just getting this crashy noise when you hook it to your phono inputs,
plug it into the auxiliary system.
Plug it into the auxiliary, because that's what that's the power it's putting out. It's line power, line out power, which is the same thing your cassette deck puts out. It's the same thing, your CD player would put out. That power of a signal. So older phonographs, higher end photographs or phonographs sometimes were magnetic cartridges. They needed the preamp. A lot of them didn't come with them because
Mhm.
people were picky about what preamps they got.
Yeah.
That happens too. You can get a decent preamp if it doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Or sometimes people didn't like the one that was built in. Like, say it did have a built-in preamp
Yeah.
on it, but they didn't like the way it sounded because some people are picky that way.
Yeah.
Some people hear things differently. They just do.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah. It
that's,
all depends on the ear of the listener. You gotta
yep,
tailor the
exactly.
system and the sound to what
Yep.
is good for you.
And
So
unless, you've got a meter to set up your impedance or whatever, you can't probably, it's not something you're going to, if you don't hear it, you don't hear it. So it's not a problem. But yeah, if
right.
it sounds super tinny and you've hooked it up to your, I don't know, computer speakers, let's say your powered computer speakers, and it sounds super tinny and weak,
Yeah.
then you probably need a preamp.
Yeah.
Because,
While we're on the cartridge, let's talk a little bit more specifically about the stylus. Um, Most cartridges will have an interchangeable stylus if you need to grow, if something happens to it, or God forbid you don't take care of it and it bends or breaks or whatever.
sure, yeah.
They are replaceable, and
Hmm.
most of the time it is the least expensive of the things inside. Did
Well,
you
this,
drop your needle?
no, I dropped my cover. I was going to show the cover. Always park yours with the cover on it.
Yeah.
So this is a kind of a rare one. This is a um a quadraphonic sound one that is wired a little differently inside. That
Wow.
I'm still trying to find the needle for, or the stylus for, and you can't see it. It was on a quad Panasonic unit.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
You find some of the coolest stuff.
it's pretty
I
neat.
swear.
It's pretty neat. Unfortunately, finding the needle for it that doesn't cost $200 is
Yeah.
kind of hitting me. So I haven't restored this one yet, but I still got the stylus for it, and the cartridge. But it's toast. It's really toast.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm sorry. What were you saying? Because I dropped my thing and
When you're the stylus is interchangeable. Most people call it, I need a new needle for my record. It's not really a needle. It's called a stylus. And
called stylus.
if you talk to somebody online and you call it a needle, they'll probably correct you. So just so you know that
Yeah, they
ahead of
will.
time.
So
But
I mean, it is the needly part. If you really, the needly part is that little pointy part right there. But yeah, stylus is
that
what it
goes
is.
in,
Think of the
it fits
stylus
into
you
the
use for
groove.
your phone, your iPad, your whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of that. It's the thing that writes the music. There you
Yeah.
go.
But like I said, they usually slide in and out of the cartridge when you need to change
Yep.
them. And you need to keep it clean. This is
Yes.
something that not a lot of people talk about, but when it comes to cleaning music, the most important thing about cleaning the music is keeping the stylus clean. You can
Right.
slap a dirty record on the turntable and play it with a stylus that is clean, even though it's don't want to ruin the stylus. You want to keep track of it. You want to clean the record first if you can.
Yes.
But the stylus, there are brushes out there. There's
Mhm.
a company that makes this like goop stuff that you just set it down under and drop the needle slowly into it, and it pulls the dirt off of it.
Yep.
You want to make sure that you keep the needle clean, brush it clean gently, very gently with a needle brush every 2 or 3 plays, because you just want to make sure that no dust, no dirt, no gunk, no runs, no drips, no errors are on the needle,
Exactly.
and keep it, because if you get it and it gets it bent or something wrong with it, it could actually cause damage to what you're listening to,
Right.
which is not good
So
either.
pull up that illustration if you can,
Okay.
hon. And I'll show them what we're talking about here. Okay, so here, yeah, you can probably see my pointy thing, right? You can see my cursor. The pointy.
I don't know. Can we?
I'm seeing it on StreamYard, so I think you can. It's moving it around on the picture right now.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I'm going to go full screen so I can actually look at it myself, but
Oh,
keep
that's
going.
cool. Yeah. Go ahead. So, okay, the needle pointy thing here. This is the stylus, like it shows, so what'll happen is this pointy part. Not to be too simplistic, but this pointy part actually is the part that rides in the grooves of the record. Okay, so when the grooves of the records have crap on them, and they do, if you don't, even
Yeah.
a brand new record will have junk on it
Yep.
because it's in a facility where they've got a bunch of paper and a bunch of vinyl and a bunch of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And you've got oils on machinery and hands and touching things. And even though they're probably wearing white gloves, hopefully you can still get debris and dust and things on it. So
Absolutely,
even a
yeah.
new record, clean it first before you play it. Clean everything before you play it, ideally.
Yeah.
That needle will start to collect crap, gunk, crap, whatever. And after a while, if you don't clean your stylus, you're going to find that your audio quality suffers, and you'll hear it almost sound like static or listening to like a bad connection. Like you know how you untune a radio, you know how you can be off tune on a radio and you're fading out of range.
Oh yeah.
It'll start to sound like that to the point where you got to pick the needle up and just clean it, because that's what does that. So yeah,
Right.
if you don't clean that, that'll affect the sound quality too. And then I was going to show you the magnet. So like this is a magnetic cartridge, and basically what it is inside that little package I showed you where your stylus connects, is the magnet and coils that drive that when the needle is vibrated, it sends out returns the power to the amplifier that tells the amplifier what it's hearing or what it's feeling as it moves. It's kind of reproducing the music.
Right.
This is the best way to put it. And that's how both of them pretty much work the same way, except the internal guts are a little different. And then, of course, the power delivery system is different. And that's why you have a preamp for one and not for the other one.
Right.
It's the easiest way to put it. So, yeah, clean your needle.
Yeah.
Always. And that is the simplest thing that kind of hangs people up, too. It's like, well, I've been playing records for 2 days or whatever, and now my needle sounds like things sound like crap. Well,
That's because you're not cleaning the needle.
And some of it's very obvious and you can see it, and sometimes you can't, because it's you really can't. It's dark enough where
it can be microscopic and you're not looking at where you're actually.
How do you know? No, especially if you've got it's turned over, it's down on your record. Can you really tell what's going on with that little guy? No.
Right.
So you may need to get some gunk for it. What did you call that? Gunk?
There's several different companies that put it out, and I can't remember the name of the brand, but it comes in a little round. Wait a minute, let me see if I have it.
Okay.
Handy.
I don't use that. I don't have that, but I do have a brush that I use to get the stuff off. And then if there's really if there's stuff on there that's not coming off with the brush, like it's kind of stuck to it or something, I do use it's not the best thing to do, but I'll tell you that you probably shouldn't do this. But I wet a magic eraser. Actually
has some people actually do that, and it's
Take
fine.
Take a magic eraser. Take a little bit of whatever, like not window cleaner, but something, and then so I will just go through and I will just do this, and it will draw off under the needle. It'll draw off. You'll find it'll get little black spots on there, and you're drawing off the parts that are kind of stuck.
I don't know if I would. I don't know if I'd actually move it. This is the stuff.
Old stylus.
If I can get it on camera,
I could play it. Yeah, you can do this. Yeah.
It's just it's like a little, like shiny, sticky, almost like green slime type stuff. And you just set that right underneath your tone arm and lower the needle into it. The needle pierces it. It pulls all the dirt off of it.
Yeah.
Like one of those pet brushes for needles.
Yeah, I really shouldn't have moved it. You're right. I should have done this and not done this. I'm sorry. It's an old needle. It's an old stylus. I don't really worry about it now. It's like, but yeah. And it just kind of draws off. That's kind of like it's almost like goo,
right?
Or adhesive to pull off the stuff that's stuck to your needle.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it is. Yeah, and of course, when it comes to cleaning records, the most basic thing, which everybody should do, is have a brush of some sort. You have a dishwasher, right?
Yeah, a very old one, but yes, I do.
I used to have one. I love those. Those are great.
These are great.
Now I have a carbon fiber, and those
are nice too.
These work well, but of course, if you buy used records, the first thing you should do is deep clean it. There are a number of different devices out there, ranging in price from about 40 or 50 for the basic ones, for stuff like the spin clean and the vinyl style. I have a vinyl style. I have the vinyl style because it has a protector for the labels. The spin clean does not, although they both work the same. You can also get vacuum operated ones. that are.
Yes.
There's one that Melinda Murphy, another wonderful vinyl community member, has, where it actually connects to a shop vac, and
Hmm.
it works great too. But they have these really expensive ones you can get, which use a wet vacuum style. But
Hmm.
you're looking in the lower thousands for those if you want
Yeah.
one that
Yeah.
works right.
I used to have one of those and they were lovely.
Oh, did you
But
really?
I didn't have room for it and I didn't keep it. But yeah, they're basically,
Oh,
it's a turntable. I
yeah.
mean, truly, you put your record on it, you put the solution on it, or it will spray depending, and then you drop.
Hmm.
It comes across like a bar about this wide, long, and
Yep.
you set it just above the record surface, and it sucks the
Yep.
dirty water off of it,
Yeah.
basically, and it
Um,
cleans it. So they're nice, but
Dylan over at the Record Spinner actually works at a record store that has one of those, and he actually demonstrated it on one of the episodes of his show. If I can think of it, I'll put a link to it in the show notes, because those are really nice to have. But like I
mhm,
said, you're looking at a minimum of $1,200 to
yeah,
invest in one of those that work really well. So
yeah,
I can't
and
afford that.
so yeah, until you can afford that, even a spin clean isn't cheap. I mean, they're
Yeah.
100 and something, almost 200 now. Some
Yeah.
places depending, and all that is a bucket, a record shaped bucket that has
Yep.
brushes in it, and you just turn the record, and the sediment will fall off, and it falls to the bottom, and you clean out. Whatever. That's that's
Yeah.
helpful.
The vinyl style that I picked up, when I picked it up, it was just under $60, and it
That's
comes with
amazing.
a solution that you probably shouldn't use. I've heard terrible things about the solution, so I don't use it. But the system itself works wonders, and it's just, you manually turn
Hmm.
the album 2 or 3 times, or the 45 2 or 3 times while it's in there, and then you take it out and you dry it off, and it really does make a difference in the
Yeah,
sound, and then
exactly.
how it keeps it.
So, the solution I use for my LPs, which is what I use this on, I don't use it on 45s. It's kind of too wide and it's a pain. It is pretty much what came with it, which is it's a solution of denatured
D-
alcohol.
yeah, D4, yeah.
Yeah, and it also, I mean, it's not straight alcohol, mind you. You probably would use, I think they say 50, 40, 60, or 50/50 of the denatured alcohol and distilled water.
Yeah.
Because if you don't use distilled water, you get mineral deposits and things, and this just kind of clogs things up and makes
Some
things look
people
bad.
recommend all different types of things,
Yeah,
and some people swear don't use alcohol, don't use vinegar, just use distilled water and a drop of a surfactant, like a dishwashing liquid.
hmm,
And then I know one person out there that uses scrubbing bubbles.
which is crazy, but yes, I mean, it works, I guess.
It does. It
Yeah,
works
I've
for
I've
him.
I've
And
had
she
people.
specializes in repairing really badly needing
Yeah,
cleaning out records. And he comes
that
out
well, scrubbing bubbles will
usually,
do it, I guess.
yeah.
But also, to get in the grooves, I've seen people add um, Cascade, basically, which is I mean, it breaks down the
Ah,
surface tension of the water,
yeah,
and
but
it gets into
Cascade
the
is a
groove.
powder usually, isn't it? Or is
No,
it,
no,
they have liquid now too?
the stuff that keeps the spots off of your,
Right, yeah.
yeah, the liquid. Yes,
I
there's a
know people
liquid
that recommended
dishwasher.
Dawn for me, so I don't.
Well, I could probably promote that, but yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to do it. For the 45s, like I said, you've seen me do it 1,000 times. I take basically um, but microfiber cloth, and I don't use vinegar solution anything. I use a free and clear glass cleaner or all-purpose cleaner, and I just put it on the rag and I spin them to get them clean because I'm dealing with some really nasty
Yeah,
records
we saw that
sometimes.
one on the last show.
Yeah, exactly. When I was touching them, you want to see them cringe? Ew, yeah.
Ah! Stop that.
See? See what I mean? See what I mean?
Fingers, fingers, fingers.
Don't
Don't do
touch it.
that.
Fingers. But yeah, so there's many ways to clean them. Just, don't use abrasives. don't
No.
don't take your Mr. Clean magic eraser and start rubbing on it. That's not good at all. So yeah, there's just things you shouldn't do. But just use caution and a light touch,
Yeah.
and you should be able to keep things clean and working well.
You want to I don't know if you have ever had any experience with, I did because we had one in a number of record stores I've worked with. Would you recommend a zero stat gun?
You know, I would if you can afford it.
Yeah, they're
I
pretty. I don't know how much they
they're
are
not
anymore.
cheap.
Back then, they were $40, $50, $60, and
I
that
mean,
was
if you
20
can,
years ago.
yeah,
So
if you trip over one at a garage sale and they're selling all their, record stuff and they've got one laying there, grab it if it's
yeah,
only $5 or whatever, because they're pricey. A good anti-stat mat and actually, I have never had static. Once I wet clean something, I've never had a static problem.
right.
But I try to wet clean everything before I play it just to make sure I don't. Um, but yeah, I would because
A,
they do work. They do
yeah,
work.
a
They
good
they
turntable mat will help you get rid of all that anyway. But a zero
yeah.
stat just makes it. We had one at two of the different record stores I've worked at over the years, and it does make a difference. It gets rid of the static instantly, and
So if
it's
for
just a
those,
little gun. It looks like a
yeah.
little gun, and you point it at the record and discharge it a couple of times, and it cleans
Yeah,
the static off, and it's really it does work well.
it,
Although now
it
they are rather expensive
dissipates.
again.
It dissipates the static. But yeah, I'd love to get. You probably should go online and find out how to make one. That would be fun.
Oh, good. Two hip chicks branded zero stat guns.
There
That'd be
you go.
fun.
Yeah, why not? I'm sure there's copyright all over that. I'm sure, but to make one would be fun.
You know
Yeah,
what
they
I
do work
miss?
though.
What I miss, and this isn't to do with cleaning or something, but when I was buying albums in the 80s, I bought an actual record opener.
Yeah.
It didn't look much different than one of these. I don't know where I got these in package somewhere, but it was shaped and had a sticker on it, and it was grooved. It looked like a record, and on the back side were teeth in two different slots, so
Hmm.
you could run. It was for one was for regular albums, the other for gatefolds, and you slipped it down, and it pierced the shrink wrap. And
Hmm.
I'd love to have one of those again because they're just so much safer than your basic Giganto utility knife that I use.
I'm a
So
I'm a I'm a Giganto utility knife girl. I guess I've been there.
I'm
Either
always
that,
worried I'm going to hurt something when I'm opening it. I don't want to rip. I don't want to
yeah.
make it cause a tear or something. And I've done that a couple of times with this thing, so I'm super careful
Either that or a
too.
thumbnail. I've just gone down with a thumbnail before I try to
Uh,
open a record.
I had a CD opener too, and it worked the
Oh
same way.
yeah,
I wish they still had those kind of things. I'm surprised they haven't come back. The vinyl's on the way back in.
you would think this maybe have been a niche. Might have been a niche thing. They were just not. They were just like, there. Nobody's gonna buy this, but maybe I don't know.
The problem is I want to get them so I can get like put Kirkham Report branding on them and sell them
Oh,
and
there
do
you
something
go.
cool.
Why didn't I think of that? Yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
like
that's a great idea.
yeah, I've just got to find out what they were called and who made them and that
Well, you
they're
could
even.
design your own and find somebody with a 3D printer, and you're golden. Think about that.
Ooh, I hadn't even thought of that. 3D printer would be great.
Yeah,
Um,
closing off my toys. Yeah. So but I know you want you were talking about the Ronco record sorter or whatever it was. You flip
the
one and then they
K-Tel
all. Oh, it was
Selector.
K-Tel. Selector. Yeah, that was it.
I had one of those when I was a
Just
kid.
fall forward. Let them fall forward.
Yeah, I had one of those when I was a kid. There's a great channel out there. I don't know if I've recommended it to you, but I recommended it on my show called Oddity Archive.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
have subscribed to
Ben
them.
Minette does that, does all kinds of weird stuff, and he actually demonstrated just how terrible those things work on one of his episodes, and I was freaking dying watching him do it. I used to keep it, keep one of those and keep my current albums in it, and then when I was thinking
Yeah.
of it as a radio in my head,
Hmm.
so that's been all those years ago though.
Yeah, the problem with one of those is number one, well, they will eventually bend things.
Yeah,
Things will bend. Things
yeah,
will bend. Things will warp. Things will bend. You don't want to
yep.
do that.
Hmm.
But it was a great idea at the time.
Yeah, he would never. He made the mistake of putting. He wanted to try all different types, and he used crap records to do
Yeah.
it with stuff. But you never try to put a gatefold in one of those.
No, no, it won't work. It won't work.
Yeah,
It
you
won't work.
try to stuff that in there, it's not going to work.
Do you well, we pretty much beat cartridges to death at this point. I guess if there's any questions, people should put them in the chat or put them in the
Comments.
comments.
Yep.
Did you want to maybe slide on over to styrene versus vinyl versus whatever and weights of vinyl? Or do you want to say that for another show? I'm going
Well,
with the
let's just.
unprepared.
It's interesting that there are three different types. Well, no, two, because styrene started with 78s. You deal with 78 sometimes as part of your reselling.
I do.
Those things are a bitch, aren't they?
Shellac.
Yeah. Shellac, thank you. Yeah.
Shellac, yes. Styrene's different. Styrene's what they're making cheap 45s out
I'm
of.
sorry. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. I got my
So,
title. I got
that's
my
okay.
terms all mixed up there.
There's too much to remember.
There
So
is.
shellac records are basically made of regret because you look at them wrong and they'll break. You can't ship them. You really can't.
Yeah.
I have gone to the point where I've layered multiple layers of like cardboard and paper and bubble wrap and plastic, and the stupid records still arrive broken because they're so fragile. They're
Yeah.
brittly fragile. Especially now that they're older, they're even worse. They're vinyl. You can just whap that sucker all over the place. It
Especially
doesn't break.
Dynaflex.
Dynaflex, yeah, I'd never break that. But yeah, so shellac is a pain, but the 78 RPM records, they were made of shellac, right? So the groove width is different on those. So if you have a turntable
that's
that
right.
plays,
Yeah, they're slightly wider than most
yes,
records today. Yeah.
yes, they are. So if you have a turntable, like say you got a Crosley or something that plays 78s, 45s, 33s, and you want to play some 78s that you have. Now, if you're playing 78 vinyl records that were like the yellow or red kitty records, you're fine.
Yeah.
But if you're playing any older shellac or vinyl records, you will need to, I mean, if you really want to play them and play them well, and listen to them and enjoy them, you should invest in a stylus that is specifically engineered for 78 RPM records because of the gap in the width of the actual track that they're riding in.
Right.
The ones that are for more modern records are narrower, thinner. The needle or stylus is much smaller. Well, not much. I mean, visually, they're probably not that much different, but if you really get them under a microscope, you can see the difference. Where ones for 78s, it makes a difference. It's where it rides in the groove, because if you use a modern stylus on a 78, it's going to dig too far in deep, and it's not going to sound good. So you want one that's going to ride a little higher and get the side grooves. It's where the sound is, most of it on those. And so you need to invest in getting a stylus specifically for 78s. That's something I recommend. That's just, it's not everybody will do it, and it's not an everybody thing.
Not everybody. Most of the people that are watching this show are not going to be doing 78s anyway, probably, unless they are the old kitty records, like we were saying.
Yeah, I mean, this one, the turntable I have here that I do the 45s on and play great on, I don't have, that has 45 and 33.
Yeah, I don't even have 78 on it. I don't have, on my little tiny one that I was telling you about a couple shows back, I had a 78 and a 16 setting on it.
Yeah, 16 was more for voice, or more for like spoken word. Is what that was for. Where 78s were music, bands, jazz, whatever. I have a Crosley Cruiser, a pink one, which has no bearing on this. I have a Crosley Cruiser that has a 78 speeds, and it has outputs on the back to run to your stereo. So I use that for recording some 78s, and I actually went and bought a replacement stylus for that.
Right.
So I could really, and they sound amazing. You don't realize until you buy that needle.
Yeah, it's going to make it a lot better.
If you're listening to 78s and going, oh my God, how did they listen to these? They were crap records. They really weren't. I mean, yeah, they're a little noisy than the ones we have now because the material was more porous or whatever, but they sounded, it's amazing the difference in sound you'll get from just putting the right stylus on the thing and playing it.
Yeah. And then, like, those are not terribly cheap either, are they? The styluses for that. They're probably going to run $100 or so, I would think, at least.
No, actually, I got one for a Crosley, of all things, which is a cheaper, I mean, let's be real. It's a cheaper stylus. I was like $20-$25 for that one.
Okay, good. Then that's not bad.
Worth it. Yeah, I mean, a regular replacement stylus for that Crosley would have been maybe $5-$10, right?
Yeah.
But the 78 one, which it's denoted by, I think on the one I have has a green tip on it, so you can tell it's a 78 one.
Right.
But it's still the red plastic, but it's got a green tip on it. And it was well worth it because I can listen to any 78 I find now and really get the true quality of the sound out of that record. So
can't sell them or they'll break, but
I still do, which is weird. I still do, and every day, and then of course I sacrifice a live farm animal, and I do all the rituals to try to make just to get it there in one piece. But
now today's stuff, you'll see all different types of grams. There's grams. They're in
Yeah.
grams. 180 grams is considered, about the average of a top level, although you can get 200 and 220. But
Yeah.
um,
We're
but
talking about record weight
we're
or
talking about weight.
vinyl
Yeah,
weight.
the
Yeah.
thickness. If you go back, I mentioned something called Dynaflex a couple of minutes ago. Dynaflex was something that our RCA came up with in the early 60s, I think it was.
I
And
think so, yeah.
you could literally bend the album and it wouldn't bust.
Yep.
Those things you could throw them as frisbees and they wouldn't bust.
They wouldn't sound great anymore, but they wouldn't bust. Though.
Yeah, but the sound on those were actually pretty damn good for most of them. When you're looking at my obsession, which is 45s, you're looking at two different types. You're looking at styrene, you're looking at vinyl. The differences between the two of them, vinyl, when you're looking at them or holding them, you can tell the difference. Styrene is slightly thicker and it is even across the entire record.
Yeah.
Vinyl is softer and rounded at the edges. And you can
trying to figure out which one.
They both have great sound, but the styrene ones tend to be slightly more susceptible to breaking.
So you said styrene is thicker on the edges?
Styrene usually is thicker on the edge all the way around.
Okay. And that one might be.
It's also like if you shake the two of them, the styrene is like a fan, it's like it'll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ping. I've heard people ping them before to tell the difference.
Fingers.
Fingers. I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can. That's fingernail. Honey, you know what these condition these are in.
I do, but it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. I can't stand that.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Lenticular stuff is just
I'm so
that's
sorry.
that's the way you were bending that. That's probably vinyl.
Yeah, this one is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a styrene one now but the problem was vinyl was more resistant to wear than styrene.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Styrene is. I mean,
styrene is softer. It's softer overall, but it looks harder, but it is softer and it does break easier than
this puppy.
Vinyl will. That's vinyl. That's got to be vinyl. I can't really tell by just looking at it like that, but
as I play with my records here, this one is still stiffer.
Can you do that on YouTube? Playing with your records, really?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Now, here we got the knack. This one, I
yeah.
don't know. So anyway, but yeah, styrene will.
Wait a minute, I'm a fun.
He's gonna go grab a couple. Show.
I just got a pile of these from you, so let's take a look at it.
I happen to be that he just has a pile of records. Just now got them.
Celebration, Kool and the Gang.
This
is. You'll notice it does not bend as well. It's not as flexy.
You got to be up. There you go.
It's not as flexy. This is styrene.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it has a very even.
And it's lightweight.
Yeah, it is.
You'll notice the weight on it is a lot lighter than, say, another, like a vinyl record would be.
Trying to find one that's vinyl here.
Good luck. A lot of them were done in styrene.
It was cheaper and they were easier to produce.
Right.
And not so, because vinyl was expensive even back then. And now it's going to be killer because of what's going on in the world. Let's see. And petroleum.
That's the reason the records cost so much.
Did you sell me a whole batch of styrene, Don?
I might have. Let me see what I got down there.
I don't know. The one that you were bending, really bending, was
a lot of them are. I mean, a lot of them from that era are. If you go back farther, you might find some.
Okay.
God, all these are styrene too.
This is a vinyl. You can see it's markedly thinner.
Yep.
And it definitely has more of a bendy quality. I'm trying to get it on camera. You can actually bend it a little more than you can the other, which is not a good idea. Don't bend your records.
Don't be bending them records.
But you can tell.
Don't be bending them records.
I really didn't know the difference. Until I got involved in the vinyl community. I've learned so much from being here. I did not know the difference between styrene and vinyl, and I had to ask somebody, "What's the difference?" So, I am passing that on to other new people.
There you go. And not that it makes a big difference. I mean, if you're buying this song because you enjoy the song, don't worry about what it's on.
Yeah, like
if it's on styrene or regular vinyl.
Going back to the albums, I just picked up some more stuff here. This is actually a promo, but it's this is what was basic grade vinyl at the time when this was made
Mm-hmm.
in the 80s. It's a radio transcription. They
Oh,
didn't
okay.
waste any, good stuff on these.
No.
And I would say the average weight on these is 90 or 100 grams,
Right.
as opposed to the ones that are offered on, you'll see on record store day and on, big sales, 180 gram, top
180 grams.
quality.
That's
Yeah.
like double thick.
Yeah.
That's
And
double
they
thick.
are nice. I mean, I have maybe one or two that were that thick when I was a kid, and they were both from
Mm,
Britain. The US was too
exactly.
cheap to make them. But it was they were good quality, and they still are, and they still hold
Yeah.
up.
So most of like the K-Tel and the Ronco ones were basically
Dynaflex.
styrene.
They were
Yeah,
well,
or
some of them
whatever.
were Dynaflex. I don't know.
And but
I
they pinched those grooves so close together to squeeze so much music on it that was a pain. I
Yeah.
mean, you think Daft Punk makes your record skip? Wow. Shallower grooves, so they didn't have as much depth and
Yeah.
bass. But still, if you're a kid, that's what you can afford.
Yeah.
So
And
that's what you buy.
nowadays, the trend for reissues on some things is to
Hmm.
make a 12-inch that runs 45 RPM.
Yeah.
And they will put a whole album at that speed. I know several collectors in the vinyl community that swear by the 45 RPM speeds. I don't really hear the difference. I'm not the audiophile I don't have a $4,000
Right.
setup like most of them do.
Yeah.
But if it does, the speed will matter mostly if you are into the audiophile stuff and you're looking for high end stuff. Then you might want to look into those, or
Hmm.
multis, which are really kind of nuts and expensive but they have like superior sound quality. And the ones that are being made now, as opposed to ones made back in the 70s or 80s, the quality is going to be better on anything. Back in the 70s and 80s, if
Yeah.
you tried to play a picture disc or something on colored vinyl, it sounded terrible. And now you have all these different albums coming out with different splatter colors and such, and the
It's
sound
pretty
is
cool.
pristine, and
Yeah.
they
Well,
know what they're.
the vinyl formulation is better.
Yeah, way better.
I mean, because I've bought stuff from back then, and it was the quality of the vinyl they used was not great, and it had impurities. So I
Hmm.
mean, it were pressed right into the grooves, mind you. So you dealt with that noise coming from that, just from like I don't know what piece of paper or whatever was in the room at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're much better now. For resellers, um, you're looking for I think for as a reseller, as far as record players go, turntables, styluses, needles, cartridges, just make sure they're in good condition, and you probably have a market no matter what it is, as far as if it's a retro style or if it's an older one. As long as it's in good condition, somebody will want to use it. So you probably will be able to resell it. It might not be worth millions of dollars, but you'll still get a decent price out of it as long as you paid a decent price for it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's the best I can tell anybody when they're out there shopping for stuff. Same with music, same everything. It's all about condition, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
so
is.
for sure.
So before we go, let's talk a little bit about the other stuff we do, starting
Let's
with
see.
you.
What else do we do? Start with me. Okay.
You have a hilarious talk show twice a week, plus several
I,
options.
not just me. My wife is in there too, right?
Yes, she
Yeah.
is.
So my wife and I do a show called Chick Chat. It's on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Eastern time. If you're interested, come on by. We don't always talk about music. Today's topics included. Let's see. Where did we go today? We went to
Terrible food,
terrible
bad band
food.
names.
Truly, truly. And why everybody had a fascination with Jello molds back in the 70s, I don't know. But anyway, 60s and 70s. But there were
I
many
don't
things that we
know.
talked about. But we basically, it's free association Tuesdays and Thursdays where we talk about many things and just kind of roll with the chat. So
Yep.
we have a great group of people. Come on down. We'd love to have you come in. And then Wednesdays, I'm doing auctions on Johnny, who's Return of Cajun Roots reseller. Wednesday at 2 p.m., he has a hump day auction where we sell many things, including 45s where we sing along. you're welcome to come and
Yep.
do that too.
Yeah.
If we can think of the lyrics.
You can usually find me
And
there too.
this is how he keeps getting more and more 45s. It's like
Exactly.
this one. But we do other things besides vinyl as well. And then on Monday, we're on with Bemos and Mel on either or of their channels because they've rotated. And at 1 p.m. Eastern time, where they do a death pile clearance, and resellers know what a death pile is. It's basically
I
stuff
was
you
just gonna say,
bought.
what the hell is a death pile? I've
You don't
wanted to ask
know.
that.
So a death pile is stuff you bought but never listed. It's think of it as
Okay.
unprocessed inventory.
So it's your garage.
So yeah, so that's my garage. Yes.
Okay.
My garage, part of my basement. Yes. So we have a lot of death pile stuff to go through. And I'm slowly working through that, but so we sell stuff on the cheap basically just to get
Mhm.
rid of it. So that's what we're doing. And then of course we're going to be switching back and forth
Right.
every other Monday.
Yep.
So it would work out unless it's a long month. Once a month you'll see it's either on, yours or mine basically.
Even numbers on yours and odd numbers on
You've
here
worked that
on
out well. You've worked that out
yeah.
well. So yeah, for sure.
Well,
So
I
yeah,
figured I'd take
we're
the
busy.
odd because I'm one, and I'd give you the even because you guys are two. So there you
That
go.
makes sense. I
I
love it. It works.
Yeah. I also have a website besides TKR Video Central called the KirkhamReport.com. It has all kinds of stuff going on. And I am launching a new site right now, working on it, called Record Store Rewind. And what it is going to be a record of retail stores that don't exist anymore, ones that are out there still. And it's basically, if you're familiar with the dead blogs, dead malls type sites and such, I want to do the same thing for record stores. And hopefully over the next year, we'll build it up into something great. To that end, I actually just picked up a book I found on Amazon of brick and mortar record stores.
Oh, cool.
It's 2021. I'd love if anybody has any leads on a Billboard record retailing directory from the 90s. Let me know, because I'm definitely looking for one of those for that too. And you can check it out at recordstorerewind.com and my regular site, thekirkhamreport.com, and on YouTube at TKR Video Central. So.
Very cool.
And at the time this goes up, when we're actually posting this, it is Eurovision week. I will be up a lot more often with all kinds of Eurovision stuff, covering the 66th annual Eurovision Song Contest in between doctor's appointments and everything else I got going on. So it's going to be all kinds of crazy stuff this week.
Is it my imagination or of your obscuras kind of leaned towards Eurovision lately?
Well, this week I had a Eurovision Classics week. It says that at
that's why. Yeah. I was like, okay. A few I known. That's the funny part, because I'm not the Eurovision girl.
Most of the ones I picked for this week's Obscuria last week at the time you're seeing this, I picked all of them Eurovision classics. They're all Eurovision songs that were hits or at least charted in the United States. So that was the whole point of that. And
today's I didn't know.
You didn't know ding it on. I don't know if I'm going to talk to you or not anymore.
I'm sorry. I knew the other ones. I was like, oh yeah, I know that one. This one comes on, and I'm like, what the heck is that?
You'll know Fridays too. Fridays was actually a pretty big hit. So, so thank you everybody for joining us, and we hope that we were informative. If you have any questions or anything, you can always leave us a comment, and we'll get back to you. And of course, as we're premiering these, we're always on the chat, so we hope we're listening and chatting with you right now.
Yeah, exactly. Appreciate
for Finding
you guys.
Your Music Mojo, I am TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report.
And I am Dawn from Two Hip Chicks.
And we'll see you in another fortnight.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, fortnight.